Hey everybody, what's going on? Real quick before we get started, I want to say congrats to the winners from last video. You are now entered in the $100 Google Play / iTunes gift card giveaway that I'm drawing for on April 19th. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you want to get in on it, check out the video up there and then come back here and be sure and enter. Turn on notifications, that way you can get here in the first hour. I'm also doing one on Twitch that I'm drawing for a little sooner that you can accumulate entries for just by being present in the stream. So if you want to check out my Twitch link for that, you can get in on that one as well. Same giveaway, same prize anyway, different giveaway, same prize. But that's it. If you want to get in on that, check out that video and do it. Congratulations to the winners from last video. So I have a little bit of news that I wanted to go over with you guys, and then just talk a little bit again, just another update on the Fusion, the state of things, and how everything seems to be going. So let's go ahead and talk about these notes. Now, I will say that earlier in this conversation, it was mentioned that 1.14 is planned for early April. Now, we don't know everything that's coming in 1.14. Hopefully, hopefully it's a little bit different than any update we've had. Hopefully there's some legitimate content. Again, they have indicated with some of this news that, you know, there's a real shot at a balance patch going here. They're trying to shift up some of these champions that no one really cares to use and make them interesting. So I'm really hoping that there's some content here too. Well, I reckon we'll take what we can get. We'll take whatever baby steps we can get to move in the right direction. But it would really be nice if there was some actual content in this update too. So as far as I know, we have not been told that there is anything specific like that coming, but it is hoped that 1.14 comes out in early April. We'll see how that goes. Now, as far as these actual notes that we do have here, excuse me, Leech will heal the attacker by 18% as opposed to the current 10%. Now this is pretty substantial. This is almost double. Now this buff gets interesting because 18% is a lot. I feel like with a War Master proc or a Giant Slayer proc, that might be enough to heal someone without them having to have lifesteal, if that's the kind of comp that you wanted to try to run for clan boss. So there might be some opportunities to play around in there. I feel like now you can do some things that you couldn't have necessarily done before, because if you have a leech debuff, because 18% is quite a bit, especially with a War Master / Giant Slayer proc. So that'll be interesting. That buff now, I feel like that makes that buff a little more interesting. Before, no one really cared about it. It was not really anything ever worth noting or using or planning around. 18% though, especially with the changes to Mashaled, but we'll get to that. And also, champions under Veil or Perfect Veil get a 7.5 or 15% respectively damage reduction from all incoming attacks. So now the weak version gets a 7.5% damage reduction from AoE attacks, and Perfect Veil gets 15%. So that's that change we were talking about, where it seemed like they were nerfing Duchess really hard, but really what they're doing is they're taking the effect away from her specifically and adding it to the buff. So now anybody that places these buffs now places that damage reduction. They now kind of inherited that part of Duchess's passive. So now a lot more champions get a lot more viable for this. You know, now she's not the only one that is capable of this in that way anyway. Now anyone that places the buff gets the damage reduction. So that is interesting. I feel like, again, now they've made this buff a little bit more interesting, because before it was not really that big of a deal. It was not really that interesting because this game is very AoE heavy anyway, right? Especially in PvP, but really for most places, the game is just really AoE heavy, a lot more than other games like this I've played. So it didn't really matter if there was a Veil or a Perfect Veil up, because most of your people are hitting AoE anyway, right? So now this gives Veil some viability. Now it makes it where if you're in a situation where you'd want to target someone, you can't specifically, and the damage reduction is heavy from AoE attacks. So now, again, this could be good. This could mix things up a little bit. and introduce some more champions into different situations in the game where maybe before they wouldn't have been that interesting. All right, now it talks about the champs. Mashaledu will have the following skills: attacks one enemy, attacks all enemies under leech, heals this champion by 30% of the damage inflicted. So he's going to hit whoever you target, and then he hits anyone with a leech debuff, which means if you've got anybody placing an AoE leech debuff, he's hitting everybody. So he's hitting AoE, he heals by 30% of the damage he inflicts, AoE, and he's going to heal by 18% of the leech debuff that's on everybody. So basically it's a full heal. If you can keep an AoE leech up, he's going to heal himself back to 100 every time he gets a turn. That's just, I can't imagine any other way that plays out, which means you're going to have to be able to one-shot this dude. Or at the very least, one-turn him, right? Places a 30% crit damage. Oh yeah, this is that ridiculous skill. He speed buffs and crit damage buffs the whole team, and True Fear and leeches the whole enemy team, and then gets an extra turn. That's nutty. I can't wait to see the cooldown on that. I can't wait to see the cooldown on that skill. That's just so crazy. He can set himself up now to AoE A1. He can go first turn and do all of these things. 30% crit damage buff. True Fear and Leech on all enemies. He is... Again, we're going to have to see how it plays, right? Sometimes things look one way on paper and they play differently. We're going to have to see how it plays. But this dude is, at least on paper, is going to be one of the best legendaries in the game when this change takes place. I mean, that's a lot going on. If you can bring all this to a fight, you know, you're doing okay. For him to do it all in one skill and then get an extra turn, that's crazy. And then his new third skill's no joke either. That's that full buff strip, and I think he does 50% extra damage to someone with no buffs. So he takes all the buffs off someone, and I think it said he steals them. He might just strip them. I don't remember. But yeah, he's gonna be fun. It's gonna be. I'm gonna go ahead and pull him out of the vault now, if I've got one in there, which I'm sure I do, and go ahead and get him ready because I'm gonna want to test him out. So that's how the changes affect him. And then with Duchess, she no longer decreases allies. I think it means damage from AoE attacks. No longer increases damage from AoE attacks for allies under Veil buff. The reason is that the buff itself doesn't. So nothing's changed, actually. Nothing's actually changed about her. In that sense, now she just has to place the buff for that part of the damage reduction to take place. Okay, so she's actually not getting that nerfed. It's not actually as bad as it sounded. I think what's happening is more champions might become a little more interesting now. Some that were not so interesting before, now might be a little more interesting. So I am interested to see. I would love it. I would love it if there was a little bit of content in this update too. So far, I like everything that's happening. I like what's being done. It's just time for some content, you know? It really is just time for some content. You got a couple of other games out right now that are just putting you to shame with content. So, again, I appreciate the attempt at this balance patch. This is what we've been wanting. I got nothing bad to say about the attempt at the balance patch, but this needs to partner with a little bit of content. It doesn't even have to be a huge block yet, right? Just something. Add something to this game. Add something to this game that the players want along with this, and it'll be a big step in the right direction. So that's that. Beyond that, real quick, so far the state of the fusion seems okay. They haven't really dropped any wild cards on us. We got the Dungeon Divers event, and again, it's the same setup. Moderately easy to get these. A little more difficult to get this one, but again, I'm not opposed to the setup. You can come in and get these free to play. I'm fairly certain. And here, if you're going to whale out or you've got the resources and you want to really go at it, then you can come down here and get the epic. But Also, I've seen a couple of comments talking about these events not being free to play. So I want to clarify, when I say free to play in this context, I'm not talking about finishing the event. I'm talking about getting what you need to do the fusion. I'm talking about the events in relation to the fusion, right? So in that sense, they're free to play. But no, this is not free to play. So don't misunderstand me for saying that the events themselves are free to play. I'm saying in conjunction with the fusion event and getting what you need to get Killian, it's looking okay. And the nice thing about what the state of it right now is that we've got a Dungeon Divers event in conjunction with a Fire Knight tournament, right? So just do Fire Knight. That way you're getting Dungeon Divers points and you're getting points for here. And then when you get this dude, you can switch over to whatever dungeon it is that you want to farm that bumps you up quicker. But these will pair nicely together, right? So far so good. It's looking like they're going to stay on track for this one. Again, I don't know what flipped the switch exactly. It's silly to think that things had to get as bad as they got before someone was like, okay, I guess they're right. But if someone was that hard-headed and now, if that's what it took, then I guess that's what it took. We will see. Again, still a little hesitant to really get on board with anything yet, but it's looking okay. Right? It's been a little bit since we've had any bad news. The fusion is still on track. We've got an interesting balance patch coming, 1.14. At least they're shooting for early April. I don't know if that'll happen or not. And I will keep you guys posted on any other news I get, right? I'm hoping for some more news. I'm hoping for something more interesting for 1.14. But again, we'll take what we can get for now and see how things are looking in a few months. So that's it. I'll keep you guys posted on any updates I get. If you want to get in the giveaway, by now you know what links to click and where to get to do all that. So that's that. Drop your comment, all that fun stuff. I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think about these changes to the Leech debuff. If you're pumped about Mashaled, if you've had one sitting in the vault, if you're a little relieved about Duchess, maybe you had a Duchess and you're a little relieved to find out that she's not ultimately getting nerfed that bad. Now, let me know how you guys are feeling about all this. And again, I'll keep you posted as I find things out. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.